Making the video for the movie Metalhead was by far the worst experience I've had making a video. Now, the shooting, the script writing, that was all fun, like normal, but editing and everything else was a complete nightmare. So I would like to discuss all of this stuff with you, that way you know what my pain feels like. Okay, so a little background. Back in November 2015, the Metal Monster and I were discussing what movies we should talk about for our collaboration. We decided on Monster Dog, obviously, but an idea was thrown around that maybe we should do this movie. And given that we both liked the synopsis of the movie, we thought that, you know, it wouldn't be a fun video to make because it looked like it was a good movie, so there wouldn't be a whole lot to make fun of. So I decided, okay, well, if we're not going to do this together, then I'm going to do it on my own. So I bought the movie on iTunes, I watched it, I really liked it, so I was like, okay, well, this can be my big end of the year video for 2016, because there are a lot of things I can say about this movie. So I tried bringing the file into iMovie, and guess what? iTunes DRM copy protection. This son of a bitch is the culprit to why this video was so hard to make. Well, it wasn't the only thing, but it was the primary thing, okay? So even though iMovie is made by Apple, and so is iTunes, where this DRM protection happens when you buy things off the iTunes store, iMovie couldn't import the movie. So I'm sitting here thinking, you gotta be kidding me. But more on DRM protection later. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, the DRM protection isn't a big deal. There used to be a software called Requiem where you could just remove the DRM protection from a file that you buy off iTunes. And it turns out that this software hasn't been updated since 2014. So I was like, okay, well, they've likely replaced it with something also free. There were softwares that could remove DRM protection, but they weren't free. They were like $40. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I could buy the movie 3 times for that much. It's like, I'm only going to use this thing once. I'm not paying $40 for that. Fuck that noise. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, what else can I do that would reduce costs? You know, wouldn't cost anything. So I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe I could screen record with QuickTime. QuickTime, it froze every couple of seconds, probably because the movie was such a high resolution. I don't know. So I'm thinking, okay, well, what about OBS? Well, in order for OBS to do the quality that I was looking for, it had to be like 7 gigabytes a minute. That's like 700 gigabytes for this whole movie. I'm not doing that. That's a quarter of my hard drive right now. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I do have this Reflector app for my iPad and my computer. You know, I could just stream the movie from my iPad and I could record it on the laptop. Genius idea, right? Damn it, iTunes! They covered all their tracks! I'm thinking, okay, well, I gotta buy a physical copy. Where can I buy a physical copy? At the time, I only knew about 2 physical copies being pressed. Like, there was one in Iceland and there was one for the rest of Europe, but they were both region 2. And neither of them had English subs. I'm sitting here thinking, oh no, what am I gonna do? Well, I looked on the movie's Facebook page and it turns out there is a version with English subtitles. And it's from this back-ass website I never even fucking heard of. It's called WeBoxIt.com. And look, they did a great job. They delivered the movie to me, they sold it to me, they packed it well, it arrived in 11 days. Fine with me. The price, on the other hand, made me want to fucking cry. It was like $26 for the Blu-ray, and I was like, okay, well, $26. It's expensive, more than I'd like it to be, but I'll buy it. I want to do this video. Shipping cost more than the fucking movie itself. It was like $29 goddamn dollars. Now, keep in mind, I bought this around the middle of December, and I lose a lot of packages over the holidays when I order things. So, I mean, the standard mail option was just not an option for me because, I mean, it had a higher chance of getting lost in the mail. But so I was like, okay, well, I can just buy airmail then. Like $29. So $26 for the goddamn movie, $29 to ship it. That's $56 for a movie. There's no movie I would pay $56 for. Fight Club has been my favorite movie since I was 14. I wouldn't even pay that much for a fucking autographed copy. So by the time this beast arrived, it was already Christmas Eve. I had a couple other videos planned, so no go for this being the big end of the year video for Killbot. No! It had to happen in 2017, and it was a good video to start the year out with. But it breaks my heart because a lot of people who saw my video say the same thing. Wow, this video looks amazing. where can I buy a copy? Well, I hate to break it to you. You can't buy a copy for Region 1. You just can't. I mean, unless you happen to speak Icelandic and you live in Europe, which I live in the United States, it's a no-go. The only option you have is streaming it off Amazon, pirating it, or watching it on iTunes. And even then, you won't be able to own the fucking thing. DRM protection is bullshit! It needs to be banned and illegal! I mean, DRM protection isn't as bad as it used to be. Remember when iTunes used to only allow your files to be on like 5 computers at a time? Well, they've gotten better about that now. But still, I mean, your email address is embedded within the file. So if you want to burn music for somebody, you better hope that that friend that you burn music for doesn't give it to some weird son of a bitch who tracks your email down and spams it. And look, I love burning music for people, so that's a big concern for me. I mean, they say they do it just to track the orders, but if they were just tracking the orders, then why can't they just do what Amazon does and put the order ID number in the comments section of the file? Like, why the fuck is that so hard? Also, if you're gonna buy a movie digitally on Amazon, why the hell can't you download it? And they say that they do this to reduce piracy, but this does the exact opposite. It promotes piracy, if anything, because see, the reason why a lot of people pirate is because they want to actually own what they buy. But you can't actually own what you buy if you are not allowed to do certain things with them. So what if I buy a perfectly legal copy of a movie on the internet? You know, I paid like $13 for the iTunes download, which, you know, it isn't bad. But, you know, if I want to make a little remix video, like what if I wanted to convert it with Handbrake or something, you know, watch it on a different device? I wouldn't be allowed to do that because of the DRM copy protection. I can't do shit with it. I mean, it's not like all of your customers are evil. Not all of us are going to host your file on the internet somewhere for everybody to download. And if we do, then, you know, there are ways to track that. You have a right to stop it. But what if, for the minority of us who want to make a perfectly legal and innocent fair use review of your movie, you know, what are we supposed to do then? Some of us don't want to spend $56. I almost didn't do it. You know, I never pay $56 for a movie. That's fucking stupid. So here's the thing. A few years ago, there was actually a Kickstarter campaign for this movie. They were going to release it in Region 1, but it just didn't happen. They couldn't come up with the funds for it. I understand that physical discs are selling a lot less as time goes on, especially in this modern era. I mean, people just prefer to download and stream things rather than physically buy them. I mean, that saves them money, right? But for the minority of us who still buy discs and music, you know, we appreciate it more if we physically own it. I mean, to an extreme extent, you know, if I like a band and I like their album, not only am I going to buy the CD, I'm more than likely going to buy their vinyl if I really like the album. I mean, vinyl is more expensive and it takes up more space, but that means that I can appreciate it more. You understand? Well, the same thing with movies. If I see it online, I'm going to want to buy a copy because, I mean, I can appreciate it more. Besides, iTunes, you know, when they sell their movies, they sell them usually compressed. That way it can be easier to download, you know, for formatting reasons. But, you know, a Blu-ray, it's the full resolution movie. It's incentives like this that keep me buying physical copies. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who would love to have a physical copy of the movie, but they can't. Because they can't speak Icelandic and because they can't play it on their fucking player. I mean, just because I could get it to work on mine doesn't mean that everybody can. Region codes are for sadomasochists, and they need to be fucking outlawed. Now, getting the movie was a pain in the ass, but the video editor was the biggest nightmare. Oh my god. Ever since I've been making YouTube videos, I've been using iMovie. And see, iMovie gets a bad reputation. My thing about iMovie is, it's good when it wants to work, but it is very glitchy. It is too unstable, it crashes, it overworks itself a lot, and sometimes I do this myself by accident. Now, usually I can get around iMovie's bullshit, but this was beyond anything I've ever had to deal with. You want to know what happened when I imported the movie file into iMovie? The fucking pitch was off! It was off by like 4.5%. I mean, look, Megadeth's Symphony of Destruction sounds great in E-flat. That's not how it was in the movie. That bothered me. And then for my live action footage, it was like my voice sounded like this kind of. So I was sitting here thinking, what the hell? By trying to import the movie file into several different projects and trying to import my live action files into several different projects, I was somehow able to get the pitches correct on both of them. in separate different projects. See, when I bring them together in the same project, you know, one of them tended to be off, and then one of them tended to be normal, which was fucking bullshit! Why couldn't they both be normal? You might be thinking, well, why didn't you just change the speed of the movie or your live action footage? See, they were both off by 4.5%. What I mean by this is the movie was slow by 4.5%, and my live action footage was fast by 4.5%. And you see, the way iMovie works, you can speed it up to 104 and 105%. You can't speed it up to 104.5%. So, I mean, I was fucked in that regard. Which is stupid. It makes as much sense as a tampon at a bachelor party. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, I have my narration finished, so maybe I can just fuck with the narration on the movie, and then I can export that into a different file, and then, you know, put that and my live action footage together, because what I had it chalked down to is maybe it's just a clashing of formats. I mean, it shouldn't have been a clash of formats, because the same settings I used for this movie were basically the same settings I used to rip this movie back in November. So after spending a stupid amount of hours editing just the movie portion and the narration portion, I exported them. And you know what? The audio was off for that too! Let me rephrase that. It was fine in the finalized file. It wasn't fine when I brought it into iMovie again. On top of that, it was exported as 720p instead of 1080p. So what the fuck was I gonna do about this video? Well, it turns out that I read somewhere online that you could copy from one project and paste it into another project. So I took a correctly pitched movie project and then pasted it into my live action project. It was like a dream come true. If only the playback was correct. This thing stuttered the entire way through. I've never had this happen before. I don't know why it did it. I didn't care why it did it. It ran slow. It stuttered. It fucked up my concentration. It was like everything was working against me, so that way it could try to get me from doing this video. This video did not want to be made. Most people would have given up when they saw that price tag on this movie, but no. So on the same night that I was editing this, I was Skyping with the Metal Monster, and we were filming our little off-the-cuff video on the Slayer comic. And what happened was I drank a monster to get prepared for that. This monster helped tremendously. I stayed up all night editing this thing. I was up till 7 in the morning editing and uploading this thing, using stuttering playback, mind you. I had to go over this thing 3 or 4 times in the editor to make sure that I got it right. And for whatever reason, the stuttering playback was only in the editor. When I finalized the file, it wasn't stuttering at all. Had it been stuttering, I would have probably had to buy a really expensive software and start it over, which I was trying not to do. But believe me, I'm looking for a new software. iMovie has given me hell before, but nothing like this. This is drawing the line. So as soon as the video was finished and I watched it and I liked it, I started uploading. I was so happy that it was finally finished. I mean, after spending so much time on it, that stress is finally gone. You know, it was 5 o'clock in the morning and I took a big Sid Vicious jog across my neighborhood. And then guess what happened? The fucking computer restarted for no reason. I don't know why. The upload was like 20% finished and then it restarted. It's like this video was cursed from way before I even began it. To the bitter fucking very end, it just gave me such a hard time. But once the computer finally got its hair out of its ass, it was able to upload, and it took like 90 hours to do, and I went to bed at 7 o'clock that morning. Of course it was set to private for the time, because I wanted to see if there were going to be any copyright problems. I mean, that's an easy thing to solve. If it's fair use, then it's fair use. All you have to do is say so, and then just wait a couple days. Honestly, I think this is one of the best videos I've made ever. If nothing else than just for the ending. And this movie isn't just about metal, it's also about the human condition. So, I mean, this is educational stuff. This is great stuff. It can reach you on a human level. So when I watched the movie the first time in November, I sat there wondering, you know, why are there no videos about this movie on YouTube? Now I know why. Because of DRM copy protection and because of region coding. Well, now that the video's up, I guess I can relax and get back to my regular programming. But thank Christ that something good came out of this. Vorbid was the first band ever to contact me asking if I could do a review about them on my channel. And, you know, they were 17, 18 years old at the time of emailing me. So I was like, whoa, these guys are pretty friggin' good. Yeah, I should put them in a video, but see, I was busy doing Mosh Pit and the Pendulum at the time. I was pretty much finishing up my videos. I already had most of them edited and written. So I've been wanting to make a video about them for months. And with this video, I was finally able to feature them. They're great, awesome, progressive thrash metal. You should definitely check them out if you haven't. They're not your typical run-of-the-mill thrash band. They're fucking great. Listen, I really love this movie, and I hope that you can get to watch it because it's a really great movie. But making the video for it was the worst experience I've ever had making a video. I hope I never have to face something like that ever again. I'm looking for new softwares. I'm thinking about Final Cut Pro. Metal Monster uses HitFilm 3, so I'm looking into that too. But one thing is for certain, I will continue to persevere no matter what editor I use, because making videos to me is really fun. Only it is things like this that make it needlessly harder than it has to be. Well, thank you for listening to my rant, and if the person who invented DRM copy protection happens to be watching this video, I really hope that we never meet, and you better hope that we never meet, because if we meet in real life, I'm going to fucking punch you in the balls. Grind on.